The Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by Rams On Demand, Seat Giant, Vibe 305, and RWO, Rams World Order. Now enjoy the show.
Down the middle to the end zone. Caught by Brandon Cooks. Shoot your arrows.
It's picks. Nickel Roby Coleman
throws. End zone caught. Touchdown. Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. LaMarcus Joyner returns to the lineup with an interception in London. 35-30. Robert Woods, first down 20. 10-5. Touchdown. LA! No, it's Goff who keeps it. And Goff goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there and comes away with his third sack of the afternoon. Met immediately and sacked. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. And he gets gobbled up. Savage has to eat it as Michael Brockers picks up the sack. He's decked by Ebu Tom. Picked off. Marcus Peters. Strutting his stump. Mark Barron the last 4 weeks has been a Pro Bowler.
Oh, it's picked off on the play by John Johnson.
After the throw, and we mentioned that is his 8th completed pass in his career.
Cousins sacked. Ndamukong Suh. Of all the guys, it's the rookie John Franklin Myers who knocks it out of Cousins' right hand. Todd Gurley, 20, 10. Gurley for MVP.
Hey guys, it's Alexis Kraft here. Welcome to the Downtown Rams podcast. I'm joined here by Jake Ellenbogen and our guest, Ben Larson from Downtown Vikings. We are going to be talking about free agency, opinion and analysis, and predictions for all 32 NFL teams today. And we also have an exclusive interview with NFL free agent Pierre Desir. So we're going to kick things off with our interview with Pierre, and then afterwards we'll talk about him and other NFL free agents and what we think is going to happen during this offseason and free agency period. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is our interview with NFL free agent Pierre Desir.
All right, guys, joining the show, NFL cornerback Pierre Desir. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, for coming on, and we're really, really excited to talk to you and just to get this thing rolling. How are you enjoying the off season?
It's a great off season. I've been enjoying time with my family, my kids, and my wife. Just enjoying this family time. Being a dad, taking care of my body. So it's just been a good off season.
Yeah, of course, and you're heading into your 6th year in the NFL, and I just gotta ask, what has your experience of this league been like so far?
It's been a journey. I had a lot of ups and downs, but I think for me is I just continue to work hard. I surround myself with a great group of people that I trust that guide me and just help me along this journey because, like I said, this journey is up and down, so you got to be able to handle whatever adversity comes at you. And I'm just blessed to be able to continue to be playing and to provide for my family.
Yeah, and, I kind of want to take it back a little bit to your college days. You were recruited out of Lindenwood, which I'm familiar with because I live in St. Louis, and it's a college that, is filled with, great, athletic talent, but sometimes is overlooked because it's, a smaller school. So what was it like receiving that draft buzz, being a player from Lindenwood?
For me, it was just being able to have my dream come into reality. Lindenwood definitely helped me out to be able to get to that point of being able to get drafted. The coaches, the staff, all the teachers, the administration people, everyone just helped me get in a position where I can be successful. And it definitely helped, putting Lindenwood on the map to, trying to get some exposure and trying to get our name out there that, just because I am from a Division II school, Lindenwood University, that there's great talent out there. And so it's a really cool thing seeing everything come together, scouts and everyone just coming out there and just really getting a good look at our university.
Yeah, of course, and you ended up getting drafted by the Cleveland Browns. What was that like to be drafted back in 2014?
It was emotional. I don't think there was one person that didn't shed a tear when that happened, just because everyone that was there just knew my journey and knew what I had to do to get to that point. It's definitely a blessing. The Browns allowed me to come into the league and, still live out my dream. And that's what I continue to do, and I'm just blessed for that opportunity.
Yeah, I certainly remember that, hearing about you being drafted and just, being so happy for you and to have that moment. And describe your rookie year, with the Cleveland Browns. What was that like? Was it a big transition, going from Lindenwood into the NFL?
My rookie year was a learning experience. I think I learned the most my rookie year, just learning what not to do as a player, as a professional, and just learning the ins and outs of the game and the business. So I learned so much of just the details and of how to be a player and how to be a pro in the game.
Yeah, of course. And you bounced around the NFL a little bit. I mean, you kind of, alluded to that earlier. Before finding a home, and eventually you become a starter on a playoff team. What has your time in Indy been like?
My time in Indy has been very special. My family, we all love Indy. I love the people there, the fans, the coaching staff, the facilities, top notch. My experience has just been nothing but great. I think this past year has definitely resurrected my career in the sense that I think my game is just elevating even more. And I just give thanks for them to give me the opportunity. So it's just been an overwhelming blessing just to be able to just play and actually get the opportunity to start in a great place like Indianapolis.
Yeah, of course. You definitely had a great season there. Indy had, a really special season, and, it's definitely so fun to watch. And it seemed like, you guys were all having a great time. And, how do you go from, you have your best, year of your career, in Indy, and you make the playoffs, and, that organization, goes back to the national scene, and you were a really big part of helping them get there. But, the season ended and, you don't have a contract as of now. So how do you go from that and to dealing with all this other interest from other teams?
No, I think it's everything one day at a time. That's really how I've been going through this process. And I know that I've done what I could do. I've done my part. So now it's up to the negotiation between my agents and the team. Because I definitely want to stay there. I think I expressed that to them when we had our exit meeting, that I want to stay in Indy, but I know this is a business, and I'm just going to take it one day at a time, and just, whatever happens, I know it's going to be in the best possible sense for my family that I'm going to take into consideration. So I definitely want to be back, but I still have to put all consideration for my family.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, Pierre, aside from yourself, who do you feel most contributed to your growth as a player?
And that's tough. I think I've learned from so many great players throughout my career, like players like Richard Sherman, players like even Andrew Luck, even though I got a 4 month time with been there for 2 years. So I think it's just every team that I just learned from different players to just help me just learn how to elevate my game. So it's kind of hard to just say like a certain person because there's just so many guys. I mean, Joe Hayden in Cleveland. I got an opportunity to chat with Phillip Rivers when I was in San Diego. Russell Wilson, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Andrew Luck, T.Y., Darius Butler. There's so many just players that are able to, help me elevate my game. So it's really hard to just say one person.
Yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, you've played with a lot of great players. Are there any players that you played with that you've become great friends with or you've remained close with throughout your whole career?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons. But as far as for the Colts, I think when I came in with Kenny Moore. I think we have built a bond as a brotherhood, and I think that's what's special about the team in Indy is that I go so close to all the guys there. I can call anybody at any time for anything, whether it's, to let out my dog or something like that. It's that kind of friendship, that kind of brotherhood that I cherish so much at Indy that I want to get back to.
Yeah, of course, and it was pretty incredible seeing you guys, turn your season around. I mean, you start off 1-5, and then you end up, going to the playoffs, and you take down your rival on the road. I mean, what was the season like? And on top of that, I want to ask you what your thoughts are on your defensive coordinator, your defense coordinator of last year, Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, Flus. I mean, he brings the energy that I think is definitely needed. If anyone has been able to watch our practice, I mean, our practices are tough, and I think that's what helped us get over that hump from being 1-5 with just that physical toughness. We practice hard, we study hard, and he's a guy that he wants to get the most out of you, and you're going to give that to him because you respect him so much. So I think it's his coaching style and just how he has brought that toughness and that energy. They got everybody involved and everybody committed to the process.
Yeah, and then to add on to that, Tomoko Torre actually came on our podcast last year, the night before the draft. He came on a live show. I know he's a teammate of yours. What are your thoughts on him being a second-round pick and going through the whole process in general? I mean, he went through his rookie year. What do you think about him, moving forward in his career?
I mean, he's a special player. He's an athletic freak. I think he learned throughout the year how to become a professional, how to become a pro. He's a great guy. I mean, I talked to him during the off season. I see him working, and I know he's hungry, and he's going to continue to work. And we all know he can do it. Just the talent that he has. He has such a high ceiling, and I know he's going to be a great player for years to come.
Yeah, and we are Rams podcast, so I'm just curious. You're from the St. Louis area. Did you grow up watching the Rams or being a Rams fan?
Yeah, I grew up watching the Rams. I remember. I mean, I've been to a couple of the games at the Edward Jones Dome, so I grew up watching them. Never really got the opportunity to play football yet, but it was definitely an interest when I was able to watch them.
Yeah, of course. It's pretty cool. I going back and look at my old reports. I mean, I didn't really, I got into the draft, but I wasn't into it the way I am right now. And I mean, you were one of my top, players for the Rams to draft back in the day. It's pretty cool to just have you on because I remember, seeing the Bleacher Report article about this, kid from Lindenwood and how he's going to tear up, the NFL. So it's pretty cool how it all kind of came full circle. But, with that being said, I'm obviously, being a Rams podcast, I'm not going to ask you, have you talked with them or anything like that. But I just want to get your thoughts on, a few questions that I have. I'm really intrigued because, with the Rams, they moved to L.A., and I want to know, as a free agent, how do you view Los Angeles, not necessarily the Rams or the Chargers, but just the area of Los Angeles as a potential destination? Do you factor that in at all, or is it really all about fit?
I think it's a combination because, for myself, I have a family, so I have to think about wanting to move my kids to a totally different location, and definitely scheme helps because you want to be in a situation where you're able to thrive in that system. So I think it's just a combination, but I love LA. My daughter has been out there for dance numerous of times. So I think it's just a combination of all those factors that you got to put in as a player, the location, and if that scheme fits for your style of play.
Yeah, of course. There's definitely a ton of considerations that you have to take when you're, considering switching cities or switching teams or, that type of thing. It's not an easy decision to make at all. And, is one of those factors that you think about in any way, team success. For example, I'll use the Rams. They were runner-up in the Super Bowl. So do you think that attracts you or players in any way when you look at a team saying, I could be the missing piece that they need, or I can, help take them to that next level?
Absolutely. I think as a competitor, as many of the players are, we all want to see ourselves in that big game. So, being able to see a certain team be in that game, that it's definitely a great location. I think that definitely helps them when it comes to free agency. With a lot of players looking on, what place they would want to play at.
Yeah, of course. And then, we have to talk about, head coach because, you yourself just played, under a rookie head coach in Frank Reich, who I'll just say right now, you haven't, mentioned him yet. We haven't asked him about him yet. But I'll just say right now, I think he's great, and I think he was robbed of Coach of the Year. That's my, opinion.
Right.
But I just want to ask, how big is coaching, in potentially picking out your destination? Is that something you're really looking into, or where do you factor that into, if you do decide to, go to a different team or whatever?
I think that factors in a lot because players talk, as coaches do. So I believe that you want to go to a place where the coach will be able to elevate your game. And I think what made Frank so special is that he brought everyone in together. We were a young team. We had some vets, but we had a lot of young players. And he was able to bring us all together. So I think if all players are looking for that, a coach that can bring them together, a coach that can have everyone focus on the same task. And I think players definitely take that in effect when they're looking at different places to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And the last question that I have, in regards to free agency is, how much stock do you put into playing with specific players? Because, it seems nowadays, like, for example, the NBA seems to be, kind of buddy-buddy, where the NFL seems to be more business-oriented. Do you ever put a team on your list of destinations that you'd like to play based on wanting to play with a specific player?
I think as far as for the NFL, I think if it would be able to be like that in the NBA, because guys do want to have fun, because that's one of the reasons why we play. And I think if you're ever able to go into a team with a group of guys that you train with or group of guys that you played with previously, I think that just adds even more fuel to the fire when you're trying to go out there and play. So I definitely think that helps, and that's definitely some factor, because you see guys that are trying to go out to recruit players to join teams all the time, on social media. So I definitely think that's a factor as well.
Yeah, and as the draft approaches, I gotta ask you, you've been on the other side of the draft where you've been drafted, but how is it being a veteran, knowing that, look, I may have done as much as I possibly could, but this team is, gonna go out and they go and say, they pick a cornerback. How is that, being, just like, I don't know if you necessarily watch the NFL draft every time it's on, but how is it like knowing that you could be replaced even if you, put out your all and you like the, kind of the situation you're in?
I think I think you got to understand that you can only control what you can control. every year there's going to be an NFL draft. So there's nothing that you're going to do to stop that from happening. And I think once you put your best work out there, or continue to be better, other teams are going to take notice. And then you just got to put faith in yourself, and faith in God, and everything will take care of itself.
Of course, I couldn't agree more. And as Jake mentioned, you've been in this league a couple years. You're a veteran in this league, and I'm just, would like to know, what's your biggest goal at this point in your career?
For me, my biggest goal is to. I have a couple of goals. To be a Pro Bowl player and win a Super Bowl. I think it's probably on a lot of guys' list. That's definitely on mine.
Hey, I couldn't agree more. I think those are good goals to have. I definitely felt like you were a snub this year. I thought you put out, some phenomenal tape. And, obviously it's a Rams podcast, and, we're Rams fans, but we're fans of you. We appreciate you coming on, and we'd love to see you in horns, but no matter what, we'll be rooting for you, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, Pierre. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
All right, so that was our interview with Pierre. We really appreciate him coming on. He's a great guy. He's a fellow St. Louisan. I really enjoyed talking to him on air and off air about our shared hometown. But I guess just to kick things off, Jake, do you want to pick who we discuss first?
Yeah, so let's see. That's a good question.
We could talk about Pierre. Would probably be fitting to talk about.
I mean, we could mention that, we were going to talk about Dante Fowler. It looks like he signed a 1-year deal with the Rams while we were pretty much getting ready to record this podcast. So let's just get that out of the way. Being Rams podcast and all, I love this move. It's a 1-year deal, so I'm not thrilled about that, especially, at his age, but he's betting on himself and he's staying with the Rams. And, I guess we'll wait till the numbers come out, but, it's good to have him back. As far as, I guess we'll stick with the edge. Let's go somewhere. Let's go with Shaquille Barrett, because I find he's one of the more intriguing edge rushers in this class. And, I think he's going to have a lot of suitors. He's somebody that probably should have been starting at some point in Denver, and there were just so much talent there, between Von Miller and, of course, you're talking about DeMarcus Ware, and then they bring in Bradley Chubb. So, I think probably there's the best place to start.
Yeah, I like Shaquille a lot. I know you love him and talk about him a lot, and I think he'd be a good fit for the Rams. And, I won't be surprised if they were to target him. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to be a 3-4 guy only, or mostly a 3-4 guy with his size and everything. So that always limits guys where they could end up being. And I guess I'm concerned about his production, the fact that, when you've got a guy like Von Miller opposite of you that's attracting double teams all day and you just never really quite got it, and he's had some good defensive minds there to coach him up. I'm intrigued to see where he can fit in, how much he can make an impact. But I guess maybe like a team like the Jets or the Titans who could be looking, or even the Packers who could be looking for some young 3-4 pass rushers. Those are guys I could be looking at because they might be looking, especially if you like Packers don't like to spend a lot, so they might be looking for a little bit of a bargain find maybe.
Yeah, I agree. The Packers, I think, in all my mocks that I have them doing, I have them either going after like a tight end or an edge for sure. So you're right, that is something to look out for. The next guy, the guy that I'm going to kind of bring up is someone who I like a lot. I've liked him for a long time, and I think the Rams should target is Justin Houston, who the Chiefs released. I think he's, still got a lot of potential. He's only 30. He's a guy I think who's been consistent. I don't think that, there's really any red flags around him. He's a great linebacker. He's a guy that I said, I was questioning that the Chiefs are going to release him, and also D Ford. Him and D Ford were guys I wanted the Rams to target. But, if the Rams don't get him, I think another option for Justin Houston is the New York Giants, another a team that's going to be looking to target linebackers, the Atlanta Falcons, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's got a lot of options, and I think he's going to be hot on the free agency market.
Yeah, I guess, really going back to, because I didn't really say, much about Barrett. I do want to say I think his best fit is with the Los Angeles Rams. I will start right there because, you have Wade Phillips, the familiarity with Wade. And, in something like that, bringing back Fowler, it's probably going to be a $7 or $8 million deal. I think they'd have enough space to do that. And, I like that overall fit. I do think there'd be some other fits there. I think, maybe the Steelers would be an interesting one. A team that, for whatever reason, is kind of feeling stuck with Bud Dupree, who I don't think is anywhere near his production. Has fit the bill for being a, first-round pass rusher. But, getting somebody next to T.J. Watt, or even on the Giants, who, they just traded away Olivier Vernon, who didn't really fit their system. Putting him on the edge might make some sense. So that's my take on Barrett as far as like those guys. But I guess really like overall with like free agency and everything, I think really the tags, with the franchise tags and everything, I think they really dictate how free agency goes. As far as Justin Houston, he's somebody that I think, because we're sticking with the edge position, Houston's somebody that I would think makes a lot of sense for the Rams as well, as a bunch of other teams. But the problem is I think he's going to have a ton of interest. And, I saw a report out there that said he would have, $15 million he'd be asking for annually. That kind of puts him in the range of, a Colts team or a Jets team, teams with, more cap space than everyone else. So, I don't know if he wants to be, an outside linebacker. He's willing to, switch to a, defensive end role, kind of opposite of what Julius Peppers did with the Green Bay Packers. But, I definitely think it'd be interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of teams out there. I think the Raiders are a team to definitely look out for as well. They have a lot of cap, and, obviously they trade Khalil Mack away, so there's a lot of, really Arden Key. I don't think it's going to cut it as the only pass rusher, so...
Yeah, no, I mean, Jake mentioned already one of the teams that I think he's a good fit with would be the Jets because, like he said, you're looking at quite a bit of money for him. He's a little bit older. You said only 30, but obviously he's going to have one more big contract probably, and then it's going to be a smaller contract. And theoretically, if you give him a 4 or 5 year, he's not producing at the same level at that point in his career either. But yeah, I could see Jets. I like the Raiders pick. Yeah, they need to find some pass rush for sure there. And beyond that, I'm not sure. I think he's maybe a little outpricing himself. And there are some teams that have a little more cap space that might want to go with a younger pass rusher in free agency, or they have a high enough draft pick where they're looking at drafting a pass rusher higher, especially since we've got a lot of freakish athletes coming out this year in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And who's someone that you want to bring up, Ben?
I'll go on over. I'll switch it up. We'll stop with this run on edge rushers, and I'll go Landon Collins, the former safety for the Giants. I think he's still very young, 25, I believe, only. So that gives you a lot of space to give him that 4 or 5 year deal, lock him down for most of his prime years. He's played a lot of box safety. He was a box safety in college, but he is athletic. He isn't just a guy that's just going to sit in the box and stuff the run, and you have to worry about a nickel situation. No, he can play that deep guy, and I think the Colts would be really, really smart and lucky to get him because that's going to give them a dangerous safety combo with Malik Hooker because he can really roam, and that gives Collins a little more freedom to play up front with the amount of space that Malik Hooker can cover on the back end.
For sure. I really, like that that pick, Collins to Indianapolis. As you mentioned, Indianapolis has Malik Hooker in the safety position, who's very young and extremely talented, and to pair him with Collins in that backfield would be deadly. It makes a lot of sense. Indianapolis has the money to pay a lot of free agents. They have a lot of cap space, and they're going to be looking to sign some big guys. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Collins go to Indianapolis. Another team that I kind of wondered maybe about Collins would be Green Bay. I thought maybe he'd be interested in going there. They're a team that needs a safety. Pittsburgh needs a safety. So he's obviously, he's a top 5 free agent right now, I believe. So he's going to get interest from a multitude of teams. He was someone who I kind of thought the Rams might try to go after, but instead they got Weddle, which I like as well. So I think they're out on Collins. So we'll see. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where he ends up.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be saying and talking about the Colts a lot because, like you said, they have a lot of cap space, but they have to be one of the better free agent, more intriguing free agency things. Because normally when you see these teams that have $100+ million in cap space, you're normally looking at these guys that are picking top 10. Mm-hmm. And a lot of team players, they want to go to a team where they can actually win a little bit. That maybe they're leaving their team because they don't feel like they can win there, that they don't feel a good vibe there, whatever. But the Colts give you an ability to get that big contract and to bring in multiple big contracts, and they just won a ton of games. Like, that's actually really should make them intriguing next year, I think, as long as they spend their money well.
Yeah, and, I think, as you guys were mentioning, Landon Collins, two names of teams really went through my mind. And the thing with these teams is you have to be, worried about the potential of, lack of cap space, because I think Collins is going to command, a decent dollar. Tampa Bay needs to get rid of Chris Conte immediately. I can't believe that guy started there for like 4 years. I don't think he's an NFL caliber safety, period. And the other team I'd say is the Chicago Bears. I mean, look, Eddie Jackson is phenomenal. He's one of the best safeties in the league. And they didn't have a safety that was half bad in Adrian Amos, who's probably one of the better safeties in football. So he hits free agency at the age of 25, and with all these, big, cap spenders, you're talking the Colts and the Jets. They're going to have competition to bring him back with only $8 million in cap right now. So, I think it's roughly around $8 million. So I think like Chicago is going to have to, look somewhere, and they may have to, do some cap stretching and all of that. But I do think Landon would fit well in both of those rosters. And, as far as Tampa Bay, I think a lot of these players have a chance to be cut because it's a new regime under Bruce Arians. So that's always something to keep in mind. Anytime a coach like that, Dirk Cutter gets fired. Same thing with Arizona for that matter. It's kind of like new regime. You can have new players. It always happens. So, you saw Jeff Fisher kind of weed out the Spagnuolo players with the Rams. And then, of course, McVay kind of weeded out the Fisher players. So it's what happens all the time. So I wonder if somebody like Collins would make sense for Arians, or say even like the Jaguars. The Jaguars with, Tom Coughlin trying to go after one of those giants. I think there are multiple suitors. It's a matter of, how much does Landon Collins need? How much does Landon Collins want? Is he trying to get paid, or is he trying to win a Super Bowl? That's really the question. Because if he's trying to win a Super Bowl, the best fits to me, like you mentioned, Ben, Indianapolis, and, I would definitely say Chicago.
What do you guys think about the possibility of Landon Collins going to Oakland?
I could see it, but I see them going for more of a free safety versus strong safety and spending money, because I actually have a guy that I think they're going to target in free agency and should at the safety position. And it's going to be a little bit different because even though Mayock is, they just drafted Carl Joseph, remember, a few years ago. I haven't super closely followed him, I'm not going to lie. But with bringing in Gruden now, they're going to change up a little bit. I'm not sure if Collins is the kind of safety that Gruden is going to want to bring in. Because Raiders are such a wild card because they are just so unique and so different right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And Landon's also kind of that, versatile, multi-dimensional safety who I actually would prefer at strong. And with Carl Joseph, he's, don't, just look at him at 5'9" and think he's a free safety automatically. This guy is every meaning of the word strong, and he is a strong safety.
That's what I was saying. It's because even though Landon is a little more of a hybrid, both of them kind of play a similar position to me, which can be good, can be bad. I just don't know if you have both of them out there, you're going to be a little worried about somebody taking the top off you with a deep shot.
Yeah.
You know who an interesting name might be for Oakland at safety would be our guy Joyner.
I honestly would lean Earl Thomas. This is a team that, they're not afraid to go out and get the high-profile guy. And so for that reason, I kind of wouldn't be surprised if they went out and got Earl Thomas on top of Le'Veon Bell and now trading for Antonio Brown. And, your first thought would be like, well, how the hell did the Raiders figure that out? There's always ways. There's always ways to kind of manipulate the cap. And, I just think that's something that Gruden would definitely consider doing. So.
Yeah, personally, I mean, I do have Earl Thomas listed down. I have him as a Cowboy, which has been kind of the talk for a long time, even though he came out and we basically said, I'm not going to take a hometown discount. I want, he wants to earn what he feels like he deserves, right? But it's Jerry Jones. This is the Jerry Jones where reportedly, I remember hearing the report where in the draft, Stephen literally, they say, tore up a draft card that had the name Johnny Manziel and said, no, we're not taking Johnny. Like, even if it's not true, it's just that Jerry idea where when Jerry knows what he wants, Jerry Jones typically gets. And even though he didn't in that case, it's going to be hard for somebody to talk him out of giving him big money to play safety there.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I have Earl Thomas to the Cowboys as well.
I'm going to say he goes to, you know what? I'm going to say he goes to the 49ers. I think,
okay.
I think
interesting.
I think Richard Sherman's going to talk him into it. I think that's
that.
I could see.
Yeah,
it.
that does make sense. I didn't even think about that actually, but now that you say that, little Legion of Boom reunion.
Yeah, I like his fit more with the Raiders though. Like I'll say that right now. Like they have $70 million in cap space, not including AB is going to take off 20. So then you have 50 for this year, and then Le'Veon will probably cost like 16, 17. So then you still have enough to sign Earl Thomas and draft, Kyler Murray like they want to do, or what people are saying they want to do. I mean,
right.
I still think, they should call up the Giants and be like, hey, Derek Carr for your second and your third round pick. I mean, it's tough, but
yeah, I like that.
I think
that.
I think he makes sense. I think Derek Carr would fit what they want to do.
I do think that as well, but I think a big part of Antonio Brown going to Oakland is he wanted to play with Derek Carr. And you see them on social media talking and all that, and I think that Oakland liked that idea of having Carr with Brown.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to happen. However, a guy that, because the New York Giants are an interesting talk, because if you have Kyler Murray going to the Cardinals, which people think is going to happen, where does Josh Rosen go? I don't know if this is necessarily bold, but this is what I would like to see happen, but also what I think could very well happen. I think that the Cardinals could trade Josh Rosen to the Giants for that number 6 overall pick. Because if you remember, the Giants really liked Rosen. They liked Darnold and they liked Rosen. Instead, they took Barkley. If that happens, the Giants end up with a guy who either can start or sit behind Eli Manning, because this is probably going to be Eli Manning's final year. And they've got Saquon Barkley. So they end up with their top 2 guys that they wanted anyway. And I think the Giants would be stupid to not at least try to make an inquiry about Josh Rosen, especially because the Cardinals are really, really in love with Kyler Murray.
Yeah. One thing I want to point out with the Raiders that I don't know why no one has mentioned. How shocked would you be if both Browns end up in Oakland? So you have Antonio Brown there, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. They have 3 first-rounders. I could totally see that. And I just think that would be interesting for sure. A lot of speed.
My prediction is something I actually think might happen. Is I think at number 4, knowing Gruden and knowing Mayock and knowing that Antonio Brown just went there, I could see them taking Metcalf and having both him and Brown.
Why don't you just take Metcalf and the other Brown, and then it's like sign your needs in free agency with all your cap, and just go out and get
throwing it deep.
Yeah,
we are only running 4 verts.
Yeah,
4 verts all day,
and just get like the best receiver group in the league. I mean, Metcalf, Hollywood Brown, and Antonio Brown. My God.
I mean, that's certainly a vertical offense. You can definitely, like I said, 4 verts all day. You don't have anybody that can cover all 3 of those speedsters.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that the Raiders can afford to do. And I actually, I don't have Marquise Brown going in the first, but
I wouldn't pick him in the first. There's a lot of red flags there, but I wouldn't be surprised because I wasn't really high on Corey Coleman. He went in the first rounder, speed, and I wasn't high at all on what's his name, DJ Moore, and he went in the first round as well. So there are guys, those speedsters, that will go in the first round. I mean, just look at.
You didn't even mention John Ross.
That's
the ultimate one. That's the ultimate.
No, I
he
know.
Was borderline round 1, and then all of a sudden he runs a 4.22, and everyone's like, "Oh, yep, first round."
I couldn't believe how high Corey Davis went. Like I was like, "Oh, he'll fall to the Rams because he didn't do well, and his injury and all that. Like towards the end of the year, and I guess teams just kind of surprise you, and they fall in love with, the person sometimes more than the player. You'll find that, and that's when you find teams really screw up and they reach on a player. But with that being said, kind of a bigger name that I want to throw out there, Jadeveon Clowney. He's been tagged, but there's a lot of rumor going around that he's open for trade, and the Texans are willing to dangle him. Now, they would get 2 first-round picks if they didn't match the offer from a team that signed him because of the franchise tag. That's his designation. But that's not realistic. No one's doing that. So what I would imagine is a possibility is that you look at... I mean, again, I hate to just bring up the Rams the entire time, but I think they could be an option trading away their 31st overall pick. I think maybe somebody like Seattle. I could see Seattle. Seattle tagged Frank Clark, right? Frank Clark is playing hardball. Like, I'm not going to go to OTAs. I want a contract. I'm not signing that. Well,
so we're gonna trade tagged players is essentially your idea.
Well, hear me out. So you wouldn't.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It's a funny idea.
Well, you wouldn't trade him, right?
Okay.
What you would do is you trade for Clowney if you're Seattle, and then just do what the Panthers did to Norman, and just rescind the franchise tag.
Yeah.
And that happened. I mean, that not to that extent, but it's certainly a possibility, and I think it's one that would be definitely interesting and would shake up that division. But there are definitely other fits. I think Dallas needs some help. In that defensive line, because, quite honestly, I think David Irving leaving football kind of hurts them, because I know they wanted him back, and, I think...
Randy Gregory's out of football again.
Exactly, so...
I loved Randy Gregory, and each and every one of these suspensions just stabs me a little bit. I'm like, dude, come on.
Well, he just wants to keep proving you wrong, But that's how those guys are.
Yeah, apparently.
Well... I have a guy that I want to throw out.
Go for it.
What about Clay Matthews? Because Clay Matthews, is probably out of Green Bay. That's my assumption. I could see him going to Pittsburgh.
Oh,
They need all the help on defense they can get. They got TJ Watt there. And TJ Watt.
I'm gonna say this right now. Unpopular opinion, Clay Matthews is not a very good football player anymore. He's overrated.
My God. So, Alexis, I know we're friends. I like Jake better now. I'm sorry.
So, here's the thing.
Whatever.
Clay Matthews, extremely marketable. Like, got the hair. He's in those, all-state or whatever. Those double... I forget what they are. What are they?
State Farm.
State Farm, yeah.
State Farm.
I should know this. I'm Jake from State Farm. God. But, I mean, he's in those commercials. He's definitely, a proficient name. But him as a player, he's just gone downhill. And I've seen this a lot, and I'm not, trashing you, Alexis, obviously. You are right, to have your own opinion. But, I've seen this a lot on, Rams Twitter. They should go out and get Clay Matthews. And I'm like, remember when Clay Matthews was playing inside linebacker? Remember, it was decent because he was a pass rusher, but he also, was able to show off his ability to cover, downfield. I thought he was decent in that. And I think he's got some decent short area burst. So, they put him in inside backer, and what do you know? That's basically Corey Littleton with the Rams. So now he's just back to outside, and he's just not that great of a pass rusher anymore. He's relentless. That's his motor, but he's not really productive, not for his name. So I think, I don't know.
Sorry, Jake. Sorry, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Perry. Nick Perry got paid because Nick Perry's actually good. He just doesn't have the big name like Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is.
I don't know. My fit for Clay Matthews would probably be the San Diego Fleet, probably.
Oh my God. I would honestly say the New England Patriots wouldn't surprise me.
I noticed how I didn't.
And then
say
he'll go
I
and have
wanted
a
him
huge
on the
year.
Rams.
Yeah. No. I mean, he's not an edge. You're pretty set it inside.
Well, and the Steelers, their biggest thing is they drafted this kid from Kentucky, Alvin Bud Dupree, to be this, extremely athletic outside linebacker and bendy. But, I mean, they basically got Jarvis Jones 2.0. We know how that went. So they found a star in TJ Watt, and now they really need another guy. And, with that, I just don't think Clay Matthews makes a lot of sense for them. Maybe, I'd probably move Matthews to a team like the Eagles, to the Patriots. With the Rams, it doesn't make sense because they're trying to get younger. They've been, they've been going old on a lot of these guys. I think he's kind of in the same tier as Terrell Suggs, except Suggs is still a productive player. So I think, maybe if the Ravens are trying to get younger and maybe have somebody like, what's his name, Tyus Bowser kind of take over, then they won't bring Suggs back and they won't consider Clay Matthews. But if it's more so Suggs wants kind of an opportunity to go somewhere else and they want that veteran presence, Clay Matthews brings that to the table. So it'll be interesting. This is another situation where he might not have a huge market, so he might go to a really bad team just to get paid to be that veteran presence, be that mentor for a young pass rusher. So that's really where I see it.
I'll throw out my actual realistic prediction. My actual realistic fit would maybe be a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs had a terrible defense this past year, all kinds of issues with it, and he's, like you said, veteran leadership, bringing on that Chiefs team on defense. They just cut a couple older guys, but who knows if they can come back for cheap. I could see it happening.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go. I was done.
Speaking of, because, I said him at Pittsburgh, and Jake, you said you could see them bringing in somebody, another edge guy along with TJ Watt. What would you think of Ezekiel Ansah at Pittsburgh?
So I look at him, and he's more of a 4-3 defensive end all the way.
So you don't see Pittsburgh moving to a 4-3?
No. Not Keith Butler is a typical 3-4 guy. He's really just running the same defense. I mean, not doing it anywhere near as well, but he's running the same defense as Dick LeBeau left him. So,
I mean, how long? When was the last time the Steelers ran a 4-3?
Yeah,
well,
they've been kind of stuck
guys.
on that.
Well, then, okay, here's another guy.
Okay.
And I don't know why I keep talking about the Steelers. I guess because I'm just, like, going through... I had a few guys. But what about Malik Jackson?
Now, that's an interesting one to more than one team, but it's interesting to the Rams because, I mean, look, he played with, Wade, right?
Yep.
And, obviously he goes to the Jaguars, gets a payday, and he goes there, and, he's used to playing next to guys like, Yannick Ngakoue and, of course, Calais Campbell. I mean, put him next to Aaron Donald and maybe, Michael Brockers, or maybe you get rid of Michael Brockers because you bring in somebody like that. And also, if they were to sign him right now, it wouldn't be against, that formula structure for the, that kind of hands out the compensatory picks. So definitely an interesting one there. And it's for people that really were all over guys like Terrence Knighton in the past and, Sylvester Williams because they played under Wade. Like, Malik Jackson is a legitimate football player, not just, like, a guy that has familiarity. Like, he's really talented, and, he'd be a nice fit there. But I think, again, the Patriots would be a fit. Yeah. I think the Colts would be a fit. They could use some help in the interior. They did just bring back Margus Hunt on a interesting deal that I wasn't expecting.
Malik Jackson's much better than Margus Hunt.
Yeah, exactly. So... I think he's going to have suitors. I think Jacksonville is just trying to get younger at the position. Keep in mind they drafted the kid from Florida, whose name escapes me. They got him at the end of last year's draft, and I forget who it was. Do you guys remember?
Jacksonville?
Yeah.
I
know
who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I literally picture him. Well, while we're figuring that out, a team that I had down for Malik Jackson as well is the Colts. I don't think that I think and I've talked about this in the show before, I still think the Rams are probably going to look for that defensive lineman and position in the draft. So I'm not sold on a guy like Malik Jackson coming to the Rams. But it won't surprise me if it happened.
Yeah, you mentioned Pittsburgh. I don't see that because...
It was Taven Bryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So they got him.
He was like a top 10. And what happened? Something came up personal-wise, right?
No. You might have been thinking about the Raider, Maurice Hurst.
Yeah, I was thinking Hurst.
Yeah, he got drafted late because of a heart condition and...
No, I was thinking of, what was the guy...
There's always a defensive lineman in a draft that has an issue like that.
Murder. What was the guy that got connected to murder, but then was like the night before the draft, but then got completely absolved like 2 days later?
Lyle Collins.
What's that?
No. Garyon Conley.
Yes, thank you.
Because Collins was just... And the thing that bothered me about that was he was just helping them out. And every team took him off the board. It's kind of crazy.
It was. And I was a hardcore Lyle Collins guy that year.
Same here.
I wanted him to be a Viking. I was hoping, I want him because I knew that he can play all over the offensive line. I'm like, I love him. I want him to be a Viking. And then that was very unfortunate. But no, Jackson does not fit Pittsburgh, to me, because they got Cameron Hayward's getting up there in age a little bit, but I think he's still a solid option. Javon Hargrave and Stephon Tuitt. I don't think their D-line is so much the issue as their linebackers.
It's their linebackers for sure, and then they want one of their cornerbacks that really fit their build. I think somebody like DeAndre Baker makes a lot of sense.
That does, yeah.
I mean, put him next to Joe Hayden, and then you have. I mean, they have to bring him back, but their nickel corner, who I forget his name. I'm forgetting guys' names left and right now.
Yeah. I've been there.
Okay, so I'm gonna completely flip the switch right
Mike
now.
Hilton, that's his name.
Flip.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna flip the switch right now. I'm gonna go to offense because there's a guy who Jake and I love, and he's been playing for us for a long time, but might not be anymore. Roger Saffold. I would like the Rams to bring him back, but realistically it might not happen. And, I was looking and researching and thinking of where I think Roger Saffold would go if he didn't go back to LA. And I think there's a few options. I think, teams that really could use an upgrade at the guard position, and the team that has kind of been, people have been speculating Saffold might go to is the New York Jets. I think it's a great, option for him if he's looking to get paid. I think, Ben, your team, the Vikings. I
was going to say, if you don't mention us, I'm not going to be happy with you.
Yeah, I think the Vikings, Saffold could go somewhere.
The Vikings could use any body on the offensive line right now.
Jets just brought in Osmole, so I'm not sure if they're as much looking for a guard now, though.
That could actually. Why did I not think of? That's a really good point, Ben. Like that could have been.
Osmole.
That could have been the nail in the coffin for the Jets spending money on Saffold. They were kind of they weren't really hesitating, and they weren't keeping it quiet. I mean, they were kind of loud about how interested they were, kind of like John Elway with tall quarterbacks in the draft.
You could also for Saffold, maybe a team like the Panthers needs offensive line help.
Yeah, absolutely. They need more of a tackle, though.
Yeah. I
don't miss Matt Clue at all, I'll tell you that much.
I don't think really anyone does that's had him on the team. But, I think Saffold, 3 years, $22 million back with the Rams. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't see him leaving. I mean, if the Jets, now that the Rams got Fowler, it changes everything. Because now that they got him inked, and the Jets just got Osemele, there's a really good chance that right now the Rams are trying to bang out a deal with Saffold, on the eve of the, on the legal tampering period, which sounds hilarious because tampering, it's like legal tampering. That doesn't even make sense, but that's the period it's called. So
it's a double entendre.
Exactly, but I think Saffold to the Rams could definitely end up happening, and I just
if not, we'll welcome it in with open arms into Minnesota.
If it doesn't
on downtown Vikings.
Honestly, it makes a lot of sense though. Like if he doesn't go to the Rams, he goes to Minnesota. He helps them get back to where they were, and Minnesota's a team that I think they have a roster. As long as they fix their offensive line, they'll be competing next year, for an NFC title game appearance.
For sure.
Yeah. I'll keep it on the offense if that's okay, if I go.
Yeah.
I want to go Trent Brown, the offensive tackle, one of the breakout players of the year, one of these guys that another one of these Patriots that all of a sudden has this killer year and is probably going to get inked to a pretty big contract. Will he work out? We'll see. But he played left tackle for the Patriots. I'd be very surprised, actually, if they re-signed him because that's kind of the Patriot way. And they spent such a high draft pick on an offensive lineman that they might feel kind of comfortable moving on from him and getting that compensatory third-round draft pick in a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Brown to the Browns, lots of spending money there, get Baker a blindside protector, or Brown to the Texans because, Jake mentioned already the Vikings needs that offensive tackle, offensive line in general, get bodies. The Texans are right up there with us needing bodies for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, Trenton is actually a guy who I thought potentially if Whitworth retired and didn't come back to the Rams, that the Rams could go after maybe for his replacement. I have him actually going, fitting really well with the Browns as well. As you said, they need offensive line help in Cleveland. The Panthers could certainly use him. He's going to be hot on the market for sure because, like you said, he's relatively young. He's 26.
And he started at left tackle. That's always a key thing, too.
Right.
Yeah. I think Trent Brown can end up back with the Patriots. Now, it's really predicated on where they see their first-round pick this past year, and friend of the podcast, Isaiah Wynn. I think this is somebody that can play left tackle in the NFL. it's another guy that's, once again, draft year, everyone has to move a tackle to guard and always have to, go by length and everything. Like, the shorter arm guys have never worked out left tackle. But, I think it really depends on that, because if they think, Wynn is ready to go, I mean, there's not really a lot of room there, and they just draft him in the first round. So, it makes you wonder for sure. I mean, I definitely think Wynn, Wynn at left tackle, you can definitely do that. Brown was just such a key piece. I mean, I don't know if the Patriots are willing to let him go unless he's asking for, huge money. And I mean, he definitely could be.
He could. I think he could be somewhere.
But I mean,
close to 20.
Let's steer the attention to the Texans. Look, Deshaun Watson, he's had an ACL tear. This is somebody that, led them to the playoffs. He's their franchise quarterback. You have to protect him. You have to protect his blind side. And, Julian Davenport's somebody I liked as a developmental prospect out of Bucknell, but he shouldn't be playing left tackle. That shouldn't be happening. The Browns, they, for whatever reason, paid Greg Robinson $7 million for 1 year. It blows my mind. And then they traded away Zeitler, so they got worse on the offensive line. So going back to
Saffold, makes a little more sense to me, but because they have Gossett, I think
Colby Gossett.
I think maybe they feel like he's there because they drafted him second round. They drafted him pretty high, so I think that tells me at least. Or no, Austin Corbett.
Yeah, Corbett from Nevada, and then I think Gossett's from Appalachian State. I want to say.
Yep,
Right.
He is.
Yeah.
So, I think Cleveland is interesting to talk about the offensive line because they have, now that they've got Baker Mayfield, who's been outstanding, in his rookie year, they definitely are going to be looking to protect him. And I think that there's guys who I think are, maybe not super young, but they're still relatively, decent that could end up in Cleveland. You've got guys like TJ Lang, Andy Levitre, Mike, I always pronounce this wrong, Upeti, Arizona. Guys that they might bring in a veteran guy at guard, or like we mentioned, like Saffold, or maybe like, I don't know, guys like Buster Skrine, I believe, is a free agent. But, I'm going to the next thing that I want to talk about is something that the Rams don't need help in at all. So I kind of find this fun to talk about because you got a guy in Demaryius Thomas who I think, for whatever reason, he got hurt and, Denver let him go and then he got hurt, and he's in Houston. Houston released him. He is an interesting pick for me to potentially go to Oakland. So I want to hear what you guys think about that, because you got Oakland, who basically can rebuild and upgrade in every single position and can still upgrade at the wide receiver position, even though they got Antonio Brown. But maybe they look to bring in a guy like Demaryius Thomas, or maybe like Dante Moncrief, who was good, in Indy and then didn't really pan out in Jacksonville, and he's a free agent now. What about one of those guys going to Oakland and joining Antonio Brown?
I mean, I think it'd be interesting. I want to point my attention to probably Tyrell Williams, somebody that I think, wasn't really used a ton in, San Diego and Los Angeles. And, I think obviously they like Mike Williams way too much. They're going to move forward with him. You saw some nice things out of him in the playoffs. So they'll move on from Tyrell Williams. But this is somebody that I scouted at for the Scouting Academy. 6'4", he runs a 4.4. He's got great speed, but he is so good at tracking the ball. And that's one of the key things, being a deep threat. A lot of these guys, honestly, have a hard time tracking the ball. It's not as easy as it sounds. They have a hard time stacking the defensive back. And, Tyrell Williams is somebody that does it consistently and doesn't really get a lot of praise for it. Obviously they like, they have Travis Benjamin, they have Mike. I mentioned Mike Williams. That's not even including Keenan Allen. So, I think he's probably the odd man out. I think he's going to get a lot of money, and I think the Raiders are willing to spend that money. Best fit for somebody like Demaryius Thomas, again, I hate to sound redundant, but it's the Patriots. The best fit for somebody, like a Tyrell Williams, I would say, is the Colts. You get 6'4".
That's who I have for him.
6'4" T.Y. Hilton basically. It's like that. That's what he is. He's that proficient at catching the football deep down the field, and he's physical as well. Kind of eats up, off man coverage. Can beat the press. He's a really talented receiver. Golden Tate is another interesting one if they kind of want the slot type of slot looking wide receiver. Kind of have Golden Tate in there. But I also want to point your attention to somebody they already have on the roster that no one's talking about. He was my number 5 overall receiver last year, and he was my top not Ohio State, but Oklahoma State receiver, and that's Marcel Aitman. 6'5" receiver, kind of has a tight end build, but he really showed out, I thought, at the Senior Bowl. Seeing him in person, just his you can't teach physicality. You either have it or you don't. And he is so physical at the point of the attack, and he's somebody that's going to be great in the red zone, but I think he can eventually be that guy on the outside alongside Antonio Brown. I liked him more than Antonio Brown's former teammate James Washington. I think they already have something there with him, and I guess really for that reason, you could kind of look at the slot guys, because if you believe in Marcel Aitman, and I can't tell you if they do or they don't, then you would have to really turn your attention to guys like Golden Tate, like Adam Humphries, like maybe even Danny Amendola, guys that I think would help more in the slot. I think that's really the case there, but I don't know, what do you guys think?
Also, you said the slot guys. Also, Jamison Crowder possibly could be a fit.
It seems weird that Jamison Crowder he hasn't been in the league that long, but doesn't he feel like he's been in the league forever?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just feels weird that the end of the era.
He's fantastic in Madden, by the way. Great Madden player.
But it seems weird that it's going to be an end of an era and the Redskins are moving on from him. I don't know if I'm ready for this. This is kind of sad.
Yeah,
but
you threw a lot of info out there. Demarius, yeah. I think maybe would fit in Tennessee possibly. I think they'll maybe look at another wide receiver to bring in there. So I think he could fit there a little bit. And I honestly think Golden Tate's going to go back home. And by home, I mean Detroit.
Oh, wow. I don't know. He was meeting with the Steelers.
Was he?
Yeah.
So I have a few things I'm going to talk about Golden Tate too, but I want to go back to Tyrell Williams, because I had Tyrell Williams, his best fit in San Francisco. Ooh. Because San Francisco is a team that basically right now, because Pierre Garçon is a free agent, so really they don't have any receivers right now in San Francisco. So they're going to they have that second overall pick, which I think they're going to go defense 100%. So they could take a guy, maybe like a Kelvin Harmon or Marquise Brown is actually who I have them taking at in the second round. So San Francisco is interesting, because if you think about it, say they take Marquise Brown in the second round, and they bring in a guy like Tyrell Williams, maybe bring in another guy like Moncrief or maybe like a Michael Crabtree, then they've got a decent trio of receivers, right? Because Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be coming back. They got McKinnon coming back. They're going to need receivers. They were terrible. They got Kittle. That's it.
Marquise Goodwin got hurt, and it really hurt them. And Dante Pettis couldn't stay healthy, and he was my number 1 wide receiver last year in the draft. So I think the world of him, and really I agree with your point, is you throw in somebody like Tyrell Williams, you don't have to draft a receiver now. And you also have a good 4 in Trent Taylor. And it doesn't stop there. They like Kendrick Bourne, and I thought Kendrick Bourne was solid. And then they have Richie James, who they drafted at the end of the draft. So I think it'll definitely be interesting there. Richie James was only a 7th round pick, as was Kendrick Bourne. So it'll definitely be interesting. But Trent Taylor's a former 5th round pick. Marquise Goodwin they paid. I think they probably have one more guy. And that's probably why they wanted to get rid of Garçon. They probably just wanted one more guy, and they didn't want to have to pay him a ton. And so for that reason, it might not be Tyrell Williams because I think he's going to command a lot of money. But it could be. And Tyrell Williams is a lot like who we just talked about, not who we just talked about, but we talked about earlier, was Shaquille Barrett, somebody that never really got the starting role. When he did, he flourished under it, but he just never had that opportunity consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody more like Devin Funchess could fit in San Fran, because we already brought, Pierre Garçon was a burner, but Marquise Goodwin's a burner. Dante Pettis is an absolute burner, and Trent Taylor has some speed to him. So maybe bringing in a bigger body. It'll be interesting to see how the 49ers do, because the name of the game last year for the 49ers is who's the next guy to get injured. Like, oh my gosh, right. Seriously, when you lose your quarterback, two of your wide receivers miss a lot of the time. Your running back 1 misses the entire season, and your running back 2 misses a good bit of the season. What are you supposed to do? And right. They lost their quarterback too. They lost 2 quarterbacks this year.
Yep, yeah. San Francisco, is definitely interesting. And
I would also say Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo for who? Sorry.
I would say Buffalo for receiver.
Yep.
I'm not really. I'm not a big fan of Zay Jones at all.
I'm not either.
I like the kid that they got from Alabama, Robert Foster. I like Isaiah McKenzie, but not like starting guys. And I think they could use some help. I have them getting Metcalf in the draft, but maybe they grab Tyrell Williams. They grab it. Maybe Demaryius Thomas or somebody.
Yeah, Buffalo is interesting because I have them going hard after Metcalf. But they need a lot of help in a lot of areas in Buffalo.
Yeah, they do.
And here's another guy who I'm going to bring up real quick. Tavon Austin. Jake, what do you think about him? What do you think is going to happen with him?
I honestly didn't even realize. Sorry, I didn't even realize Tavon was a free agent again.
Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal. The Rams nullified his second year. Signed it for $5 million. That was part of the deal, and then they traded him. The thing that sucks is when Tavon Austin's healthy and is being used in a vertical passing game on the outside. Not even as, a slot guy, but you saw it with Dallas. There weren't a ton of plays, but he can eat up off-man coverage. He can blow by the press. His issue has always been, health and learning a playbook. So I guess the worst thing possible for somebody like Tavon Austin is leaving Dallas to learn another playbook. But at the same time, it might be better because Dallas has a lot of talent there. You talk about they added Amari Cooper. They're probably going to replace, somebody like, Cole Beasley in the draft. So that's going to be another, big-time receiver, another really good receiver. They have Cedric Wilson from Boise State who got hurt. But they like him a lot, as well as Noah Brown from Ohio State. And that's not including the guy they really like out of Colorado State and Michael Gallup. So there's kind of a jam-packed bunch of guys that they really like, and young guys at that. And the thing that sucks about Tavon is, his prime's almost over. He's almost 29 or whatever.
I have an interesting theory. Or I guess you can call it a theory. What about Jacksonville? You got Foles back with Austin. Jacksonville really doesn't have a ton of star receivers, in my opinion.
Well,
no, they don't.
But I like Jacksonville's receivers because Marquise Lee, you have to keep in mind, hurt himself. I believe it was a torn ACL or an Achilles. It was in preseason, and this is somebody that they paid and they really expected to take over, kind of like Robert Woods did, second rounder out of USC, and really take over as the starting guy. And he looked really good in preseason, and then got hurt. D.D. Westbrook, somebody they drafted in the 4th round, who is probably better than the 4th round pick. Obviously we know why he fell to the 4th round because the off the field stuff, but he stayed relatively clean in the NFL, and he provides that deep threat that really Austin would be. So kind of nullifies that. And then you talk about DJ Chark at 6'3", can run a 4.3. And they draft him in the 2nd round. They really like him. So it's been a matter of.
Keelan Cole was a huge surprise.
Yeah, and Keelan Cole is just a UDFA guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. He might have been a 7th rounder, but...
I think he's with UDFA.
But Dante Moncrief and Rashad Green hit free agency. I don't believe they're bringing Rashad Green back. So I don't think they'll bring Moncrief back either, which is unfortunate. I think that was a really good opportunity for Moncrief to flourish. Mm-hmm. And the problem is having so many vertical threats that they do, it doesn't work when Blake Bortles can't get the ball to them. I know it's not very, analytical to say that, but I mean that's really what it came down to is you can't run DJ Chark, down the field at will because you don't have a quarterback to get him the ball, and that's one of my biggest problems with Nick Foles. I don't think he's got the arm strength. So if I'm the Jaguars, I'm trying so hard to trade up and get Kyler Murray.
Now the better thing though is, and I was a huge Blake Bortles guy coming out of college. Loved Blake, thought he was
so
he's my QB1, all this stuff. The good news is with Nick Foles, theoretically, if they sign him, which is kind of like, it seems like a done deal. It's been kind of like one of those things everyone's like, yeah, Nick Foles is a Jaguar. At least they can throw some slant and goes and, at least hit some of those mid-range things and try to get these guys in space, even if they necessarily can't run extremely deep routes. And that's going to at least open up some stuff for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But for Tavon, my take is the Patriots. I think Cordero might leave the Patriots, and you saw the Patriots willing to try some different stuff with Cordero. You saw him take handoffs out of the backfield, that running back. You saw him play wide receiver, throwing bubbles, throwing deep downfield, etc. They were willing to utilize him more than the Vikings were ever willing to utilize him, properly. And why couldn't they do that with Tavon? If he goes and decides to maybe go ask for a little bit more money, Tavon could be a fit.
Yeah, I actually want to kind of flip the switch on this and go back to the defense and go to corner. And first off, look at our guest, Pierre Desir, who I think is going to have a lot of suitors, and I think it's a reason why he hasn't already signed with the Colts. I think the Chargers are going to be interested. I think the Rams could be interested. The Patriots, I think the Packers. I mean, there's so many guys, so many different teams that would be interested. Eagles definitely would be interested, and I think the Eagles are probably the best fit. I mean, you talk about, somebody, like Jalen Mills being your starter. Not really a huge fan of Jalen Mills, never have been. And then, of course, your best, corner is hitting free agency, Ronald Darby. Mm-hmm. And I thought, don't get me wrong, they got a lot of, good play out of Avonte Maddox, somebody that I felt they kind of reached on. And then they got, I thought, some good play out of Cravon LeBlanc, who is a guy that they kind of picked up off of waivers. So I think, Pierre Desir is somebody that has proven he could start on a playoff caliber team. He just kind of needed that kick in the butt, apparently, because, really when he came to the Colts, he really just stepped it up a notch. And we talked about that with him. It was really, his career was revitalized when he went to Indy. So, I think it's going to be very interesting for sure with him. And I think even, Kansas City could use his talents as well. But he's going to have a big market. What do you guys think? What's his best fit?
Well, obviously I would like to see him end up a Ram. I know that he, as he mentioned earlier in the episode in the interview, would love to stay in Indy. I think that, Indy could retain him. And I actually had down the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs could really benefit from him, and they're certainly in the market to land a talented corner. So I think between LA, Indy, and Kansas City, those are all viable options. You mentioned a team like the Eagles, another viable option, but I expect him to get a lot of interest.
Yeah, for me, I think a good fit for Pierre would possibly be Cincinnati. Cincinnati is lacking at corner right now, really, I don't think William Jackson's really lived up to his billing. Trey Kirkpatrick's getting up there in a little bit in age. and they're a team with quite a bit of money to spend. And yeah, I think Cincinnati. I do think, I think he should go back to Indianapolis. Sorry to hate on your Rams parade, but if it's the Colts that really kickstarted him, you feel like, if this is all this stuff going on, he's had this great year in Indianapolis, and they have the money to re-sign him, obviously, unless if they don't offer him the money that he wants, I think he goes back. But I could see Cincinnati be willing to spend some money on him. But yeah, I mean, it's always tough with corners because there's always all kinds of teams that maybe could make a surprise corner signing, because just like edge rushers, you can't have enough corners. You want as many guys that can cover as you want. So somebody that could come out and surprise us, the Redskins could. They're in need of a corner. He could go there. The Saints could try to get him. I don't know. I think it's up in the air. He could go almost anywhere, probably.
I agree.
Yeah. No, and then I would throw out Jason Verrett. It really unfortunate he's lost so much time because of injury, but I think this is somebody, if you're the Rams, if you're a team that has, even the Texans, I would say, a team that has aging corner talent, you go out and you grab, Jason Verrett, and I think you might be able to get 2-3 years out of him. If he stays healthy, you could get 2 to 3 good years out of him. He might be a 1-year deal type of guy, somebody that doesn't want to, sign long term, maybe bet on himself. It's tough because when you bet on yourself when you're that injury prone, it normally doesn't work out well. So I think that'll be an interesting one. But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
It's super tough, like you said. I mean, this is a guy that has, he's been in the league since 2014 was when he was drafted, and he hasn't played a lot. 2014 he played 6 games. 2015 he played 14. 2016 he played 4, and in 2017 he played 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't, for whatever reason, see how much he paid. Do either of you know how much he played this year?
I don't. Not off the top of my head.
But I mean, you hear that is every single one of his years gone.
Yeah.
Nothing. And that's why we keep saying you want as many corners as you can, because that with how the league loves to throw the football a lot, and you need guys that can be able to stop that. You need a lot of them because they get injured.
I could see Verrett going on a 1 year to Dallas.
Verrett 1 year to Dallas, that'd be interesting. I mean,
he's a Texas boy.
Yeah,
he's a TCU boy, but
he's a horned frog.
He's a horned frog.
That's one of the greatest mascots ever.
So there's only 2 positions left that we haven't talked about, and I'm going to go. Yep, that's running back and tight end. So let's start with running back, because obviously the big name is Le'Veon Bell.
Kevin Coleman. Oh wait. Oh okay.
No, it's Le'Veon Bell. And he's an interesting guy to talk about because he didn't play at all last year, and I really believe that there's he can be in the best shape he's ever been in, but I think it's different to be in shape and be in football shape. He hasn't been playing with pads on in over a year. So is that concerning? I don't know. Maybe to some teams it might be. Teams know right off the bat because of what happened in Pittsburgh. Le'Veon is expecting a big payday. He's gonna take. I think, to me, he's gonna take the offer that is biggest. I don't know if the winning team means as much to him, because when he was in Pittsburgh, he was part of kind of that those winning years. But I unfortunately I kind of jump on that Le'Veon Bell to the Jets bandwagon. I kind of think that's what's going to happen. But then it is interesting because you've got Antonio Brown going to the Raiders. It seems that Antonio and Le'Veon have a good relationship.
Le'Veon's going to the Raiders.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
Yeah, I heard Jake mention they got Brown and they've got Bell and they've got Kyle. I'm like, so we're already assuming that Bell's.
Oh yeah, no, he's already signed his papers.
Okay.
I don't have. I'm not saying I have like a concrete source on that. I'm telling you like that's what's going to end up happening.
Okay.
It's just they are two peas in a pod, and they both hate the Steelers, so they'd love to get back at them by going to the same team they trade Brown to. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. And Martavis, I believe, is still there too.
Is he?
I think they shipped off Martavis, to be honest.
Oh,
I don't think
they might have
They
traded
cut him in the
Martavis
middle
away.
of the season, I think, didn't they?
Isn't he on the Giants? No, not the Giants.
No, they don't have
wait,
Martavis.
I'm looking.
I mean, they might, but I don't think they do.
Bryant suspended indefinitely by NFL.
But no, he's still on the Raiders. He's just suspended indefinitely.
Suspended. Okay. So Le'Veon Bell, I guess we kind of got that cleared up quickly. Here's an interesting guy. Well, there's two, but here's.
Can I tell my idea for Bell, real quick?
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought you said separators.
No, sorry. For me, I would really, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. It's a good fit. Houston.
Ooh.
Houston.
Yeah.
That'd be a really electric offense. They've got. They're kind of lacking at wide receiver right now, outside of Hopkins, obviously. And their running game it's vanilla ice cream. That's what it is. They've got a running back who, he's not bad at all. Jake, you've given me the whole forget names of every single player in the world right now.
Isn't it Lamar Miller?
Yes, thank you. Lamar Miller is he's a safe running back. Like, he's going to give you some good production, but he's never going to be a home run hitter. He's never going to be like, man, if we really, need to lean on our running back for whatever reason, or we want to, use him as a weapon, it's not Lamar Miller. He's carry the ball, average 3 or 4 yards a carry, and okay, cool.
Yeah, I've always liked Lamar Miller. He was somebody I wanted the Rams to draft, back in the day, out of Miami, and of course Miami got him. Just like they got Kalen Ballage. Anytime I fall in love with a running back, just know that Miami's going to get him. Like it never fails. So, no, I definitely see that. I think kind of staying with the Texans. I think Tyrann Mathieu. He's gaining some interest from Baltimore. So that's definitely something to watch out for. Because Baltimore, they're going to have a hard time putting somebody that was worth. Because you have to keep in mind, Tony Jefferson and Eric Weddle were like best friends. Like they literally worked out together every single day. Got up like 5 in the morning in the gym. They were like closest buddies possible. So they're gonna have to find Tony Jefferson, another guy, and I wonder if Tyrann Mathieu is going to be that guy. But if there's no Earl Thomas in Dallas, like you mentioned. I really think that Tyrann Mathieu makes a lot of sense.
I think Tyrann makes a lot of sense in Oakland. And I should say, I think Sue fits in Oakland. Did I say that already?
I don't think so.
Well, if I did, I'll say it right now. It's Ndamukong Suh. It's Oakland. Oakland has been forever known. They got their bad boys. They got the Rebels. They got whatever you want to call them. And that's been the definition of Sue for his career.
Yeah, I could see it. The last position that we haven't talked about, which is actually kind of an interesting position because I don't think free agency wise it's actually that deep. It's really not. Is the tight end position?
Yeah.
You got guys who, like Charles Clay was just released from Buffalo. I think he's up there. He signed, didn't he? Actually, didn't Charles Clay sign with Arizona?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
Jared Cook is an interesting one because he had his best season ever with the Raiders. It was actually really good, and it makes you wonder, where he would go because. Like for instance, the Patriots.
That's actually exactly where I have him.
Yeah, you talk about Rob Gronkowski eventually going to hang up his cleats, and it seems like every year it's like, is he going to retire? No, I guess not. But Dwayne Allen's somebody that they let go. You know, they don't really have anybody behind.
Right. Well, and not only that, they love to run 2 tight end formations in New England. So even if Gronk sticks around, bringing in another one makes a lot of sense, actually.
I had New England kind of looking at Deion Sims because
that makes a lot of sense.
Yep, Deion's leaving Chicago. Chicago, you know, when is really in on Burton. Another, you know, so I could see that because I actually I think that Gronk is done. That's just my thing. But then as another interesting prospect is Tyler Eifert because
the human injury.
Exactly. but see, when he's healthy,
great.
When he's healthy,
you've got to bet on that. And also, he's 28.
Yeah.
So then it gets into where could Tyler Eifert go? I was, you know, thinking maybe Patriots-ish because if the Patriots draft, I kind of see them targeting a tight end because the draft is very loaded with, you know, great tight end talent. So I think New England is probably going to take a tight end in the second round, maybe even the first, depending on who's there. But probably, you know, first, second round range, and then maybe they take Eifert in like a 1-year deal.
I think maybe the Cardinals too could make some sense, even though they just grabbed Charles Clay.
Yeah, that would make sense.
They could look to add a second guy in there, especially since Eifert is more athletic than Charles Clay, or maybe even the Lions. Now, this is a weird free agent class because there are some younger guys, like you said. I mean, Jesse James is hitting free agency at only age 24, and he had a pretty good year. He had a solid year this year. And let's see what else we got. We also have Max Williams, you know, him from the Ravens, who got kind of had a good year, and then he just seemed to kind of get buried as the Ravens, you know, drafted 2 tight ends this year, and then just re-signed, you know, their blocker to a massive deal. They just kind of buried him on that depth chart. Fun fact, who can spell Max Williams properly for me?
Maxx Williams.
That's right. One of us. He's a Minnesota boy. So
you know,
gotta kind of give some love to a Minnesota boy, you know.
And the only other like big name kind of ish tight end that I have on here, other than Antonio Gates is a free agent, but I mean I think he's obviously going back to the Chargers, is Darren Fells. Because he's a veteran guy, he's going to keep playing.
Right.
I don't, you know, Cleveland's interesting because he could go back to Cleveland. They've got Njoku, who's been fantastic. And then
but they cut him.
Fells?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Like that's why he's a free agent.
Yeah.
The Browns are trying to trade him, and they cut him.
Then I thought for whatever reason I thought that his just contract was up. Okay, so he's not going back to Cleveland.
No, definitely not.
Demetrius Harris.
Yeah. Well,
I like him.
I was going to throw out ASJ, personally.
ASJ? There's another one?
Well, Fells, I was going to say, could end up in New England on like a 1 year.
Where's Shane Ray going to go? He's not coming back to the Broncos, and I don't think the Rams are interested because they literally came out and said that they're lukewarm on him.
Maybe the Ravens.
What do you mean they came out and like said they're lukewarm?
Like there was a thing.
Well, is there any other guys that you guys want to talk about real quick? You know, just can we wrap it up that we haven't mentioned? I mean, we covered every position. Well, we didn't cover kicker, but
I mean,
punter.
Couple guys that intrigue me. We mentioned Le'Veon Bell. I'm a big Tevin Coleman guy. I think he can handle some more carries. I loved him coming out of college. He's a big, fast, you know, north-south runner. And I've got him fitting with the Ravens possibly, or the Jets if they don't manage to win the Bell lottery. What do you think about those fits for him? Especially since he could get some more touches, but still stay in a committee backfield in Baltimore.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, there's so many. There's just,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we're not anywhere near done with this list, and we won't be done with this list because
I know that was the issue when I was coming into this. I'm like, the issue with this is I could literally just sit here and like talk for like, I could talk till 3 a.m. about this, and I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I wanted to talk about these guys, but I guess we're running out of time now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and we definitely, will be back when, because this is going to drop. I mean, the free, I think technically, has it already started?
No, so I looked, I saw a thing actually after we had talked about this, it being at like midnight. It's actually noon tomorrow. It's 11 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, so it's during the daytime, not overnight this year for the legal tampering.
Yeah, it's not midnight. It's 12 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll have a podcast out and we'll talk about it. And there's sure to be some new guys in horns, and
Yeah.
On either side, my horns, your horns,
yeah.
both horns.
Exactly, and hopefully everyone listening will let us know what they thought about our predictions, and
everyone should tune into Downtown Vikings, which will be launching later this week.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Everyone who's listening, if you've been listening, you obviously know who Jake and I are, but Ben joined us for our show tonight. He is going to be launching Downtown Vikings, as he said, and if you liked the Vikings or even just like listening to football stuff, I mean, just football podcasts, tune in.
Yeah, me and my co-host were really good friends. It's going to be a lot of Viking stuff. We're probably going to mix a little in there because we're both passionate about a lot of sports. He's the biggest Ricky Rubio fan, so if anybody likes Ricky Rubio, you're going to love this guy.
For sure. So, yeah, be on the lookout for Downtown Vikings, and if you follow us on Twitter for the Downtown Sports Network that Downtown Rams is now a part of, our Twitter, just in case you don't follow us, is at DT Sports Network. That's the Downtown Sports Network Twitter. You can follow us because we'll be updating you about all the podcasts. We now, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, but we now have over 20 podcasts on the Downtown Sports Network, correct?
We do. And counting, because we're, in the process of getting some others onboarded as well.
Yeah, so, everybody, and if you are interested in having a sports podcast in the Downtown Sports Network, please message us. You can do it on the Downtown Rams Instagram at Downtown Rams. You can do it on the Downtown Sports Network Instagram or Twitter, anything. Just get in contact with us. Let us know because, we're taking people. There's a lot of teams that need to be filled, but there's also a lot of teams that are taken, and we've it's a lot of fun. We got a lot of great guys and people coming on. One of them was on the show tonight, Ben Larson. So, yeah, a lot of stuff. Ben, do you want to plug anything?
Well, I just wanted to plug, if you want to follow me, it's for Downtown Vikings, it's just at Downtown Vikings. Pretty simple to find, or else you can find me at BLSmooth417. So, yeah.
Yeah, you should
Thank
follow.
You guys so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was a lot of fun, and we'll have to have you on again soon. And
Absolutely.
Excited to hear your interview.
Awesome. I'm very excited to do this interview. Don't want to spoil it yet for anybody. I haven't made the official announcement to people on our social media. Should be coming out within probably tomorrow. I'll be announcing who our first very exciting interview is with.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, big time. All right, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you guys enjoyed Pierre. We appreciate him taking time out of his busy schedule and his free agency schedule to come on here and give you a little a glimpse into his world. And we'll be back soon. We got some great interviews coming out, and we're just gonna keep doing the whole interview thing. We're gonna get some draft analysts on. We're going to get a Ram on here, we're going to get a former Ram on here, all sorts of stuff. So keep it right here for all the Rams and opinions and analysis and